Another week of controversy. Here we go. As Sand Scholar Z says, we'll get into the review, but let's break down the controversy. As they say in the episode, Pansy goes, "How did you raise a kid?" Because, it's a funny scene. We get some funny dialogue. And then Goku says, "I wasn't really involved." Small joke. I enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious. But some people on X, formerly known as Twitter, are not very happy with that joke. Now, I won't go into every comment that's saying like this is bad, or if it was super then people would be outraged and they should be outraged at this too. I won't go into all of those because I understand for some of you out there, you don't want your dirty laundry aired out publicly. I get that, even though X is a public platform. But I do understand where you're coming from as well in terms of, you probably don't want me publishing your more negative takes on my YouTube channel. If you do, let me know in the comments and I will publish them. But for now, what I want to address is this really that bad? To tell the truth, it depends entirely how you look at it. I am from the camp that Goku could have been a better father. I don't think he was the best father. I don't think he was the worst father. But I do think I come from the camp of Goku is very pure-hearted and innocent and a little bit on the dumb side. So he doesn't realize how important a father is in the household. He doesn't really understand what a household is, I don't think. He didn't even know for sure what marriage was for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure that Goku has that function. Now, I do think he loves his kids, and I do think he wants to protect his children, and I do think he has affection for his kids. I'm not saying like he's a bad father in that regard. But like he said, he wasn't really involved. Even whenever Goten is growing up in Dragon Ball Super or even in Dragon Ball Z, he doesn't really take too much of an interest. Now, there is a little bit of filler in the Dragon Ball Z anime whenever Goku meets Goten at the tournament and he hugs him and things like that. That's not even in the manga. That's a pretty famous scene that people love to point out of Goku being a father, but it's not even in the manga when Goku gives Goten a hug on his leg in the tournament and puts him up to his cheek. Like, that's filler for the anime. And it works. It's great for the anime. And I'm not saying like Goku wouldn't do that definitively. I'm not sure, I'm just saying that's filler. But what I am saying is that Goku isn't really the type to stay around and discipline his children and show them love and affection. He's just not that guy. That being said, your reaction to this, however you want to react to it, is justified. Like I say, Dragon Ball is a subjective series. Everybody has their own opinion about it. So I just wanted to address it at the top of the video. The controversy in the fandom. This has some people riled up. So with that being said, let's get into the review. First off, we have a new image in the opening of the third Demon World characters. So we've had an introduction to the King, to the Trainer, to the Minotaur. We haven't seen too much of these people, but maybe they're just in the background and I haven't really noticed. They probably were. That guy kind of looks Cyberman-y, doesn't he? I don't know. That might be hinting at something. But yeah, I love like how these... He looks like he's former Gendarmerie, doesn't he? Like the Demon World Police. That's pretty cool. So I do like how like every Demon World has their own fashion, I think. Like if you want to say that Supreme Kai's fashion is reflective of the second Demon Realm, that's interesting. So we get a visit from Hibiscus to the lookout and Vegeta steps in front of Bulma. I thought this was really sweet how Vegeta is still a little bit cold, but not completely. Like this isn't Vegeta in Super, he's kind of in a transitionary stage, but he's still like stepping in front of Bulma to be protective. That's pretty sweet. And then here's a look at our party. Now, I was actually kind of disappointed that Kibito didn't go with them. I was actually looking forward to Kibito going, but maybe we get a reveal at the end of the series whenever Supreme Kai comes back and decides to fuse with Kibito. But yeah, I think this is the party of the characters that we know, and they look great. I guess this one shot just kind of reminded me that they're not as squishy as I would like. Like, Goku's a little bit on the squishy side, but Vegeta is a little bit muscular, but not too muscular. And then, of course, we have Piccolo here, who literally does not look that much like a first grader. I think they should have made them look more like Piccolo should have looked a little bit more like how Dende did in Dragon Ball Z, but I digress there. And then, of course, I went ahead and screen capped this for the review. How did you raise a kid? I wasn't really involved. Yup, that's true. I already talked about that, but yeah, it was absolutely funny, though. I laughed at it. I won't lie. I think I literally went, I cannot believe they just did that. Like, sometimes they directly address it, like him being absent father, like talking about how he doesn't want to stay home and raise his kids and he wants to go train. But this was like, how did you raise a kid? And Goku just straight up says, I wasn't really involved. Like, I just thought it was hilarious. And then, of course, we have Kibito looking after the temple. But at least we have Piccolo, Vegeta, and Bulma, who I honestly care about these three more than Kibito. So I guess I would take Bulma over Kibito any day, you know? And then, of course, we have the reveal that I thought was cool, that if Goku's discovered, they'll all be wanted and they won't be able to use warp. So, if they're already all wanted, this goes into something that they talk about later in the episode, which I'll get to. But I do like how they told Goku to hide. And they're kind of getting creative with how they're putting Goku away for like certain fights and stuff. That way it's not like a simple blowout. Because Goku would just destroy these Gendarmerie. So they let Glorio, Supreme Kai shine along with Pansy. So yeah, I actually was very glad to see Supreme Kai fighting in this episode. I was surprised, honestly. Not too surprised because they've already been establishing he's a bit of a fighter throughout this series so far. But just how he fought in this episode, it was like kind of vindicating for any Supreme Kai fans out there who wanted more from Supreme Kai. And we actually got some big lore. Also liked how, you know, Glorio was using his electric powers as he was making contact with his punches on the Gendarmerie. That was pretty cool. That was really cool. Oh, and here's the big lore reveal that I thought was really cool. The Kachinite, which I think they call it that in Dragon Ball Z Kai. And I think it's actually just called Kachin. I'm not entirely positive. I think it's more of like a translation thing. But, you know, Supreme Kai summoned it in the Dragon Ball Z Buu saga. I can't remember if it was Supreme Kai or Kibito. Point is, one of them summoned it. And that is the hardest metal in the universe that even the Z Sword broke against. So I think that's really interesting that they're, you know, making all these little connections. I just thought that's cool that we're getting some more explanations. Like, what is Kachinite used for? I always thought it was weird that they had Kachin in Dragon Ball Z, the Buu saga, and they used it for that one scene, and they never used it again for anything else. So it's cool that they brought it back here. And, of course, they explained that Dr. Arinsu made it whenever Deborah was Supreme Demon King. So I just wanted to use this here as a little bit of a mention of you guys who previously said, oh, Deborah wasn't really that bad. They made a statue of him in the Demon Realm. I'm always going to keep bringing that up in these reviews sometimes, just for you guys that were like, you know, Deborah wasn't really that bad. You know, Deborah did nothing wrong. They must have, you know. Guys, I always said, if Deborah was mind-controlled by Babidi, that means he had to at least have been a little evil. And it turned out he was enslaving people, so let's just chill out. Oh, and we got a big reveal that Supreme Kai's name is Nahare. Now, I don't speak Japanese. I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation, but Nahare, probably Nahare. And then Goku says he's just going to call him Supreme Kai, which I will too. I will just call him Supreme Kai too. And for the longest time, I never saw Shin being referred to Supreme Kai as his actual name. I always thought Shin was just a fake name that he used for the tournament, because after that, most people just called him Supreme Kai. And then if anybody else did call him Shin, it was a little like, I wonder why he's calling him Shin. I never, and you can go back through my channel and look at this. I have a long history of denying his name is Shin, because it's the shortened version of Kaioshin, right? So you got Kaioshin, you got Shin. So I thought, okay, that's just like another way of calling him by his name, Supreme Kai, Kaioshin. But no, he says his name is Shin, but that's his name he uses in the outside world. So again, you could still say that's a fake name. And then he says his real name, the demon real name, is Nahare. And then Goku's like, I'll just keep calling you Supreme Kai, which I probably will too. It just doesn't sound right. And I liked this moment whenever Bulma's like complaining about the smell, which we do know is like the gas and everything like that. But I just got reminded of the Namek saga, you know, whenever Bulma gets to Namek and, you know, she's reacting a little bit badly to, you know, the Namek, the planet Namek, and how everything's going there. And, you know, you got Vegeta, who was also on Namek, and Piccolo, who was also on Namek. So this is kind of a little nostalgic, I gotta say. So it's like they were kind of going back with Goku, getting your OG Dragon Ball feeling, and now they're getting some more Namek Saga, early DBZ nostalgia going with these three. I'm here for it. I'm excited. And this is Tamagami number 3 being revealed, and we're going to be fighting him next episode, I believe, right? Based off the preview, based off how this episode ended. And I love how Goku's behaving toward it. You know, it's just classic Goku. I'm really excited for this fight, dude. Tamagami number 3 looks really cool. I've always been interested in the Tamagamis ever since we got the leaks, ever since they've been talking about them in the anime. And of course, for you power scalers out there, they're establishing that even Deborah couldn't beat it, which I think we already knew because nobody ever made a wish on it. But it's just them directly saying that Deborah couldn't beat it makes it feel a little bit more impactful and special for Goku to beat, so that's pretty cool here. And then the ending shot of the episode looks great. Goku getting ready to fight Tamagami number 3. Now, I liked this episode. A lot of people didn't. I don't think this is like an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 or even a 7 out of 10 episode. It was kind of a 6.0, like basically a 6 out of 10 episode. That's me saying it's on the good side of halfway good. You know, like basically if you have a 5, you're kind of thinking of it as average, doesn't really move you one way or another. I kind of liked this episode. Now, that's not me saying I hated the episode. I don't think that there are many problems with it. But there are problems with this series that a lot of people are talking about, how it's going slow and everything like that. Personally, I like the pace. I just don't think every episode needs to like go balls off the wall with action and stuff. But every time we get action, it's good. It's animated beautifully. And I do think that there's a clear tonal direction they're going with this series. And I don't think they need to change it. I think every series has its own little thing that makes it distinct. You know, OG Dragon Ball was more comedic and had some action, but it was also a little bit more vintage, if that makes sense, and a little bit more heartfelt and classic. DBZ was more action-oriented, more, heavy focus on drama, less so on comedy, but there was some there. And then Super, I think, tried to marry the OG Dragon Ball tone with Dragon Ball Z and kind of go into the action-heavy focus of DBZ so much that it was a flaw. Dragon Ball GT, of course, we all know, tried to be like OG Dragon Ball, then pivoted. So I do think Dragon Ball DAIMA has its own tone going for it, and I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm honestly a big fan of it. It's more like Dragon Quest-y, OG Dragon Ball, focus on adventure. But now we get into the previews. So I'm going to start talking about the previews during my reviews because I feel like I probably should start giving my opinion on them. So it looks like we're going to get Goku fighting Tamagami number 3. Makes sense. Gloria once again communicating with Dr. Arinsu. Now here's the interesting thing about Dr. Arinsu. She's talking to somebody. Okay, we don't know who this is. But if you've been watching my leaked videos, you may have a rough idea of who this could be. I won't tell you who it is. You can go ahead and check him out because I think this is somebody that we may know. But if you don't know, it's not really a spoiler for me to tell you. All right, so looks like next episode is going to be big. How big, you say? Well, we got Goma right here freaking out over something. Maybe Dr. Arinsu betraying Goma. Who knows? But looks like next episode is going to be where things start to get a little bit more action intense. Maybe the ball starts rolling a little bit more. Maybe the pace starts picking up because I know that DBS Hype, who has leaks on this series, has said that the series finally starts now or something like that. I'm kind of just, not quoting him exactly, but he said something along those lines. So what that basically tells me is these first 6 episodes have been more focused on story, plot setup, more lore reveals. And now that the Tamagami are being introduced, we got Dr. Arinsu coming into the plot more with Glorio. And Goma looks like he's making an appearance again on screen, in camera, in context, not like a flashback or something like that. I do think that next episode is going to be more liked, I think. Personally, I've been enjoying every episode, but I think if you haven't been enjoying some of the episodes, I think next episode will probably be the one that'll hook you back. Get you hooked again. Sink you. What's it called? Sink your teeth back into the series? Something like that. Next episode will probably be where you're like more up on the series. Anyways, guys, that'll be it for this review/preview of the next episode. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to keep up to date with all things Dragon Ball news and commentary. And I will see you in the next one. Peace off.